This is TWiT.
All right, Mikah, it's time to go to school. Go to Amazon High.
Can you hear the school bell ringing? I certainly can, but it's just Jeff Bezos' voice saying, work harder.
Oh, no. Worst school ever. Worst high school ever.
So this is a really interesting story over on Vice, and it is about a high school in San Bernardino, California, where they are offering a program. It's called the Amazon Logistics and Business Management Pathway. This program has a series of courses that are meant to help students get started in a career in logistics. Amazon, according to Vice, donated $50,000 to the San Bernardino, California High School, Cajon, or I don't know if it's Cajon, it might be Cajon High School. And it was used, they got receipts and things through a Freedom of Information Act request, used to purchase books and all sorts of materials for the class. What's interesting is that the classroom where the Pathways program is taking place is painted up in Amazon colors, yellow and orange, and has Amazon's leadership principles written on the walls: customer obsession, bias for action, and deliver results. Now, that's the important part to understand there. It's also important to understand that for the most part, as I was reading through this, the courses are standard courses for setting someone up in a position to be in e-commerce or logistics. It is not 100% devoted to you going to work at Amazon, but one of the goals of the courses is as follows. Quote, work towards sustainability by coaching and advising logistics lead pathway teacher on how to establish and develop an effective industry partnership with Amazon. So there's one of the things that kind of pops up. Interesting, that is focused directly on Amazon. As part of the course, you are required to do an internship at one of the at a logistics or e-commerce company in the area. But what's interesting is that San Bernardino happens to be one of the largest locations for Amazon. It says, since 2012, Amazon has opened 14 Amazon fulfillment centers and 2 air hubs in San Bernardino County and its neighboring Riverside County, together known as the Inland Empire. So Amazon's Inland Empire is in San Bernardino, California. So while on the face of it, one could say that you can go work somewhere, like as part of the requirements, you have to get a gig at one of these e-commerce companies. It's pretty much going to be that they're going to go to Amazon because that's going to be the easiest thing. There are certain requirements, including reading and understanding the Amazon effect, doing an Amazon case study as they learn about how Amazon does its business, and other kind of concerning things if we're looking at the perspective of Amazon kind of guiding this curriculum. Now, as the article points out, there are lots of different places where companies do sponsor programs at schools. And so this isn't the first of its kind in terms of a course that is sponsored by a company. In fact, it's kind of like an old school method. But what the concern was here is not just the way that Amazon has worked in a heavy focus on how Amazon does things in its studies, but also the fact that you're surrounding the students by the Amazon principles and the colors, and everyone is very aware that Amazon donated to make it possible for the course to exist. So on impressionable youth, there is this sort of like inundation of Amazon, 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 and they already live in a place, the Inland Empire, where Amazon trucks are everywhere. Amazon's airplanes are in the area, all sorts of stuff going on there. Excuse me. This isn't the only Amazon partnership that exists. Cajon High School's partnership. There's also the Amazon Future Engineers partnership, where Amazon works with high schools and middle schools to help students prepare for careers in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. And with that program, you can tour Amazon fulfillment centers. You can chat with Amazon professionals, and teachers are eligible for a $30,000 teaching award. And then Amazon did announce a partnership with the Girl Scouts of America to provide for, increase in underrepresented groups in STEM. And the way that they're doing that is by giving Girl Scout and Brownie troops tours of Amazon fulfillment centers. So it's really interesting. Vice has a link, an embed in the article that shows the entire set of papers that they got about this, so that you can see kind of what the course involves, what you would be doing, and they're mostly 11th and 12th graders in the course. And I was reading, too, that a lot of college students in the area end up going and picking up shifts at Amazon because they can, pay for college by doing deliveries in Southern California. And so it's just, I think the big thing about this, because on its face, a big business that has a lot of money that does logistics. It'd be the same thing to me as in my hometown, the big, gigantic hospital that's in my hometown. They help fund courses at the technical college for teaching people how to be like EMTs and nurses and phlebotomists and stuff like that. In that way, it's the same. I think what sets this apart is how much Amazon absolutely rules this area. And again, as there's one college professor, I think, who they talked to, the way that these impressionable youths are being inundated. Let me get this quote. It says, the students are surrounded by these messages that are even above the subliminal levels. You walk into a classroom and you're surrounded by Amazon's leadership principles. It's not even just subliminal messaging. It's above the subliminal level that makes it pretty wild. It does concern me. There's another quote too. It saddens me that schools are in this situation that they quite willingly would take this money and then in the case of this particular classroom, make it into a shrine to Amazon. I think that's where people are kind of having trouble with this, is that it's so much more than just a class that can teach you how to get into the logistics business or the e-commerce business, but is becoming kind of this praise to Mother Amazon kind of situation here. I'm curious about your thoughts. You have school-aged children. Mine are all in college, so I don't have the perspective here. Would you have concerns if your kid said, "Hey, I want to do this Amazon course," or just in general, does this kind of inundation affect you, bug you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of going back and forth. I realize I have mixed thoughts on it, mixed feelings on it. Because, like Google and other companies, like you said, do this as well. Google offers, just like a partnership with Anaheim Union High School District, working with them for like career certificates in data analytics, IT support, other things. And that's a Google relationship with a high school. So on its face, I don't have a problem. I guess I feel like I don't have a problem with a company coming in and saying, "Hey, we've got a lot of money. We're also really good at logistics, and let's be real. Amazon, as far as enterprise is concerned, is about the shining example of pulling off logistics. They're really good at it. So if you really care about logistics and want to learn business through that lens, there probably aren't a whole lot better, sources to pull that information from. Putting aside the troubling aspects of how Amazon runs its business, and puts puts other businesses out of business and has union busting kind of qualities, within the company. I mean, there are troubling aspects too. So I find myself kind of mixed on it. I mean, I guess if my children aren't of the age to do something like this yet, right? They're still kind of in elementary school. But I think if they were a little bit older and something like this was offered at their school, I wouldn't immediately say no because it's Amazon, offering it. I think I would definitely enter into it with them through a critical lens and talk through some of these things with them and say, hey, just keep in mind, like, you're going into a classroom that is filled with Amazon. And that's another part of the lesson, right? As a huge corporation, an enterprise, this is a decision that the company is making that in effect, in some ways, could be seen as like indoctrinating the youth into, affinity with the brand. It's also the same thing that a lot of the social networks do, like Google, prime example, right? Like, they've got YouTube Kids. My kids have been using YouTube Kids, and that gives them some sort of familiarity with YouTube as a product, and by extension, Google. But apparently there's some benefit there because I chose to still allow them to do that. There's still good stuff on YouTube Kids, but is Google indoctrinating them and making them lifelong Google users? I don't know. I think it's really complex. I'm not immediately saying, oh my goodness, Amazon did this, Amazon should, not do this, because I think there is some value and some benefit there. But I think it needs to be really seen through a critical lens. And I don't know that Amazon, like, I just don't know. Like, I don't know, as a matter of fact, if Amazon in this coursework is critical about its own practices. I'm guessing it's probably not. But I think that's the whole view, right? Like, that's the whole story. And if the kids are getting that as well, then I think there's some real benefit to that. I don't know. That's how I feel.
No, I agree. I from what I can read, they just, when it comes to those kinds of conversations, they just focus on sort of historically, because there is a course about unions and handling unions and what collective bargaining is and all that kind of thing. But it just sort of,
how do they teach that?
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't go into depth about like how we've attempted to stall unions or why unions are a good thing or a bad thing. It's just like, here's the bare facts.
Like, is the course taught through the lens of, as Amazon, this is how we do things? Or is the course taught through the lenses, as Amazon, we are successful, here are things that we realize you need to know about the business of logistics? And if it's, this is Amazon, this is how we do things, then I think you also have to share, and they aren't going to want to do it, but you also have to share the bad decisions that they've made and why and what they've learned and everything. And I don't have a whole lot of faith that they're doing that, but I don't know that for sure. Maybe they do. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, from what they also quoted a college professor of business who said that the course is incredible. I think that the quote was very, very pro-business.
Of course.
So I don't think that there's, from what I'm reading, there's no education outside of like how to be the best business person you can be in logistics. So anyway, in any case, it is a really interesting story that everybody should go check out, and particularly read the embed that has kind of all the documents about the class.